Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrienne Berg, and this is The Ageless Traveler. We're going to be speaking with experts Ray and Jason Miller about living the American dream by having the guts and the know-how to go RVing. And you're saying, wait a minute, I don't even drive anymore. What are you talking about here? Because it's not just a show about RVing. It's a show about getting out of your own way. And we have so many things that we put in our own way to live our best life. And by speaking with the Getaway Couple, Ray and Jason Miller, who did this, who actually made a break, and believe me, at a time of life that was very difficult for most people to break away from the mold. We have a model here, not just for RVing. We'll talk a lot about that too, because it's such an important topic. Lots of people are very interested in this. I personally, you know that I'm a veteran traveler, and without it, I don't know that I would have the wonderful life I have. There are many ways of traveling, RV being one of them. But it goes beyond that. It goes to you getting out of your own way and saying my favorite line. Philosophically, yes, I love it. Everybody who says it can't be done, get out of the way of the people who are doing it. And that was the spirit with which Ray and Jason did break away from a very traditional life. Not a bad life, in fact, a very good life. That's why it's difficult to break away. And we're going to use this as a model. But we're also going to tell you everything you need to know about RVing, because this is a topic that you've asked us about. So, Ray and Jason, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here.
Well, it's an exciting topic. So I told you before the show that I wanted to break it up into kind of two parts. One is the philosophy of this, and the second part is the practicalities of it. Get into that. How do you finance an RV? You know, where you might go with your RV, all kinds of things. But before we do anything, I do want people to know that this couple has one of the best websites I've ever seen for a how-to. So tell everybody your website, Getaway Couple, and I'll tell them what I find on it because I want them to go there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's getawaycouple.com, and we really do try to cover everything from the person who's just getting an RV for the weekend and all the way up to someone who's looking to live full time. Getawaycouple.com.
Now let's start with you, Ray. So you had good jobs and you made a decision, and that decision was to go RVing. And honestly, you didn't think it was going to be a lifestyle, but you still took that year off when everybody told you, what are you, nuts? What did you have to overcome? How did you do that? Was it an easy decision for you? And as a practical matter, did you just quit and say, well, come, or go on sabbatical? What do you do to allow that to happen in the midst of your best earning years?
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely in the midst of our best earning years. We were both very career driven, and we motivated each other to go for those promotions, go for those pay raises. And then once we kind of hit that and we got married, we kind of realized, oh, we're not terribly happy, or we're not as happy as we thought we were going to be. And we found ourselves not quite ready for children, not quite ready to buy a home and really put roots down. And we loved to travel. We took a month off of work to go on our honeymoon. And that's when we really came back to the offices and we realized, okay, well, we are overworking ourselves. We're barely seeing each other. We're a newly married couple. Is this what it's going to be like? And we aren't ready for these natural next steps. So that's kind of where traveling came into play. And I do resist change, believe it or not, but we ended up telling ourselves, and this is what really helped me mentally, was let's just go for a year. Let's pay off our debts. Let's save as much as we can, and let's just travel for 1 year. And we ended up choosing RVing because we have a dog and we wanted to take her. So that's kind of how we fell into this niche of travel. And after a year, we kind of realized, okay, we don't want to go back. And Jason was still able to work remote and we were able to sustain ourselves. I started Getaway Couple because I needed something to do. So I was working, on editing our YouTube videos and learning a whole different world. What was supposed to be a year is now coming up on 5 years.
Yeah. So one of the things you have to acknowledge here is that we're in a world of technology that allows people, all kinds of people, to work from home, I actually have done this radio show from a phone booth in Juneau, Alaska. So there's a certain amount of freedom that we've never had before. Now, I want to bring this to my older audience. I always tell you, get wired. You can work. You can enjoy life in many, many ways. You can express yourself creatively through having a YouTube channel, even having a blog, writing, put your books on Kindle. And guess what? It's a moneymaker. So let's go to Ray for a minute. Look, you're a guy, young guy. I'm pretty sure that all of your friends had a job. Did they tell you that you were nuts? You know, this is the part of, well, everybody who says it can't be done, get out of the way of the people who are doing it. Didn't they say to you were going to go get backwards in your career and you'll never catch up?
Yeah, I think it was a big shock to them. In my line of work, cybersecurity, it's always in demand. And then my job specifically, which was incident response, was, you know, you kind of are looking for a bad guy who's like hacked into the network. And then once you find him, you spend multiple late nights in a row trying to find everything they touched and all of that. And so my friends, when I told them like, hey, I actually gave like 6 months notice because I was like, oh, hey, I was working for Warner Brothers at the time. And I was like, hey, I would like to go remote. And they said no. So then I was like, well, all right, I'm just letting you know that I'm leaving in July. And they all, for a whole 6 months, they're like, no, you're not really leaving. Like, you're not going to do that.
That's so irresponsible of you.
Right.
I know. Sure. I'll tell you, in my day, of course, you didn't have RVs as the biggest thing in the world. You certainly didn't have the ability to work remotely. But what did we all want to do? And I was a lawyer at that time, so nobody was happy. They were all young people not happy. We wanted to own a bed and breakfast. It wasn't even called an Airbnb. There was no such thing. You really had to work hard. Why? Because you had the fantasy of escape. And most people did not escape. But the few that did ended up like you, even then, very, very happy. But these are incredibly large life choices. And I want to just conclude this segment to what I'll call my people. You are not in the midst of your peak earning years, most people who are already retired. But you are in the midst of the best phase of your life. This is not the time to refuse to do what you've wanted to do all your life. And if travel is there, it can be done in many, many ways. When we come back, we're going to get a little bit practical here, though, for everybody who's interested in RVing. And, of course, you know that Ray and Jason Miller on their website, getawaycouple.com, they talk about short-term trips, too. Not just changing your entire life and going on the road. And we'll talk about that when we return, because you may want to take a little surgeon for a couple of weeks and experience RVing. Don't you guys go anywhere. If you've been thinking about a cruise, I've definitely got you covered with Cruises It. Now, we have just become affiliated with them. And who are they? Well, Cruises It is the top agency for all the main cruise lines and some of the less known cruise lines as well. Cruises It has access to booking space that's been open years in advance, so you can get the best cabins. That's just number one. But they also make the prices lower. The cruise lines give Cruises It their own exclusive agency discounts. And if you're not from the cruise line, they have their own agency discounts that would apply as well. So you get both any discounts you would normally get on the cruise line, plus additional discounts that are given exclusively to Cruises It because they bring in so much business. On top of all those discount perks, when you book with them, you get the best rate guaranteed. And this is because Cruise Fair Watch system takes place. Now, what Cruises It does is it tracks the pricing until the final payment date. So you keep in mind that to get the best rate guaranteed, you have to use my site. We have affiliated with them specifically. I sat down, I met with them in Tucson, Arizona. I met with Marianne Weather. We're now become good friends. She gave me a direct line, not only a link, which you can certainly use right away, but if you have questions, even a specific phone number. Cruises It offers this not just to anyone that is one of our followers, but if you have friends and family, you can bring them in too. So just take a look at the show notes and you will see our dedicated phone line and our dedicated link. Happy sailing. We're talking about a really breakthrough idea. What would happen if you wanted to leave your job and go and see the world? One way to do that is RVing, and we have Ray and Jason Miller, who have a very, very robust website. I want to send you there because it's called getawaycouple.com. Many of you have very finite questions about RVing, from the engine to how you clean your vehicle to who knows what, to where we should go first. You'll find all of that there. We can't cover it, but we can do broad strokes. So let's talk about one of the things that is very much in the life of my guests, and that is a pet. In fact, this pet is called Carmen Sandiego, and it's a dog, and they use the Grand Design Solitude, number 375 RES, fifth wheel. One of the reasons was the dog. So a lot of people, they draw back, and that's true, by the way, Ray and Jason, of my kids. My kids are 30 years old and 40 years old, and they have pets. And it's a drawback. So how do you deal with that? Well, I don't want to spend too much time. Not everybody's got pets, but when they do, they often use it as their excuse or their real barrier to travel of all kinds. So how do you work with your dog?
Yes. So, yeah, part of the big reason we actually chose RVing was because of the dog. It obviously, overseas travel would be a lot harder with a pet, but we have taken advantage. There are certain tools. There's a temperature sensor that we put in the RV. So if we leave her in the RV while we're gone, we at least know that just in case the power went out at the campground or there was some temperature change, we'd be alerted and we could come back. But if your pet travels well in the car already or enjoys spending extra time with you, which I'm sure they do, I think RVing with a pet is very easy. We see so many dogs. We've seen cats. Believe it or not, we've seen ducks and chickens. So we've seen pigs. People travel with all types of pets in the RV world.
Well, so that's important for you to know, too, because if you do want to travel the world as I do, I'm on an airplane, but I'm usually sitting next to a dog. I must tell you something. So don't think you can't travel even with a pet. But it does become expensive. We've had to do a lot of boarding. And, of course, RVing helps you with that. Now, I also wanted to ask, let's go to Ray for this one. And that's the money, honey. I explained to our couple here that let's call it my day job, financial advising. At the end of my career there, which is only about 2 years ago, I began to find retired couples coming to me because they wanted to buy an RV and they wanted to see the best place to take their money from their retirement savings. That's true, by the way. Ray and Jason, you may not be aware of that, but older adults love RVing, and they use it first for vacation, and then it becomes a lifestyle. So it's very prevalent in the older age group, but it's also expensive. The kinds of things they were bringing to me were like the price of a very small home. $100,000, $150,000, because who else has a financial advisor? So you do deal with that, RV financing. Give us a little hints and tips about that.
Yeah, we financed our RV first, and we thought we could get a better deal outside of the dealership. And we were surprised when we did do the dealership financing that they were able to offer us a lower interest rate. So initially, that was our very first tip that we started telling people was if you're trying to get outside financing, that's fine as well, but at least see what the dealership can offer, because some of them have special deals with the banks and they can give you a lower rate or a longer term. So yeah, I mean, Jason is the one who kind of did all the research behind our financing. So if he has any other tips, I'll let him definitely
Well, I'm
speak
actually
to
was
this.
going to throw this over to Jason for a different reason, which I will do now. But first, anything else that we ought to know other than that the dealership is the way to go?
Well, I think it's not only the dealership's the way to go. I think it's give them a chance. So I still recommend shopping around. Check with your bank, check with your credit union. And then we originally weren't even going to give the dealership a chance. And then we decided, like, all right, whatever. We've already shopped around everywhere else. We'll give them a chance. And they just happened to come in lower than all of the rest. So that was a big surprise to us because we always assumed that the dealerships whether it's car, RV, or anything, will not have as good a rate as like your local credit union, and they just happen to beat them.
Do so. You know, I'll tell you something. I don't think that you may or may not know the answer to this one. I was surprised you got a loan, and I'll tell you why. You didn't have jobs. So, trick, did you go for your loan before you quit? Or did you go for your loan after you had done so? I would think that it would be, the answer is go while you still have an income to show on your application. But I'm not sure that's necessary in the world of RVing. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it was definitely get the loan before we changed everything up. Absolutely.
Great. A word to the wise. Now, what I was going to ask you, Jason, was a whole other thing. I was looking at the things that most of the people asked about RVing when they would speak to me about it. And one was the financing. But the other was television. What do you do about that? Is there satellites available? How do you watch TV if you have an RV lifestyle?
Yeah, actually, it's getting easier and easier. So some campgrounds actually have cable hookups, and your RV has a spot where, you know, when you pull up to an RV park, you hook up your electricity, you hook up your water, you hook up your sewer, and then you can hook up your cable TV, and then you'll just have to rescan all your local channels. Other than that, if you do like having your specific cable channels that you watch, Dish Network actually has some RV traveler satellites that they're really small, kind of self-contained, and you're just kind of set them out where they can see the sky, and they'll automatically find the satellite and tune to your area. And I think they're relatively inexpensive if you have Dish Network already. It's, you know, like $5 to $20 extra a month for the RV service, and you can stop it when you're done RVing, say in the winter. And so then on top of that, like what we do, we actually just do mostly smart TV streaming stuff. And so we have a little cell phone hotspot that we get internet, and we have our TV connected to it. We watch Netflix and everything.
So as a big picture here, what I want to bring out is whether or not it is FaceTiming with your grandkids, whether it or not it is that that you actually have your favorite shows and you like to relax that way, whether it is that you are planning to work remotely. It's all available to you. It's a different world than you think. Now, when I said I'm having you guys on the show, some folks said, oh, you mean like Nomad movie that became so popular? When we come back, we're going to talk about the people you meet along the way, because this is a great part of any travel, by the way. I had a wonderful couple on that actually went around the world. It's called Atlantic Circle. They wrote a book called Atlantic Circle in a boat. And what they were talking about, and it was fascinating, many years ago, they were talking about the people they met, boat people, what they were like, so different than what you might imagine. So we want to talk when we come back about RVing people, new people to meet. Don't you guys go anywhere. How painful is it for you to be on an airplane sitting for 8 hours? Well, when I go to Asia, it's sometimes 18 hours. And yes, it can be very uncomfortable. So I ferreted out some wearables for you. T-shirts, socks, even blankets. They're called intelligent threads, and it's something quite unique. Take a look at our products and services page at agelesstraveler.com. I doubt you've seen anything like this. When I was at RadFest, which is a life extension and longevity conference, it was sold out. People were wearing these right there at the conference, trying them on and becoming pain-free. I did the very same. I actually just put a T-shirt on my back, and so did my husband. We didn't even put it over our head, and we were really feeling good after hours of standing on our feet, walking, bending down, and of course we've got computer shoulder and computer back. I would never show this to you and ask you to consider it if I didn't think it would make a difference in how healthy you travel and how much walking you can do while traveling. That's Intelligent Threads right on our website, products and services, agelesstraveler.com. There's another way of traveling, and that is RVing. And that's what we're talking about today because it's inspirational. It requires you to break the mold, maybe even break with your current way of living. But this is what I want to ask you, and I'll start with Jason. The people you meet. Look, this is your life now. And you're working, and you're traveling, and you're seeing, and you're sightseeing. How many days are you in one place? Do you meet people? Have you made friends? And who are these people? As Seinfeld would say, who are these people? Are they vagabonds? Are they philosophers? Are they adventurers? And how long do you keep these relationships? Jump in there, Jason, with regard to this part of your life, and then I'll ask Ray about that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the RVing community or RVers in general are friendly. And so it's really what you put into it is what you can get out of it. I'm more of an introvert kind of person. And so most of the time, day to day in a campground, I don't really like meet that many people and say hi, but that's also because we're from Los Angeles. And I feel originally like Los Angeles, you're just always skeptical of other people. You don't really talk to your neighbors. But when we get on the road, we see people walking around saying hi to every other person who's sitting outside and being really friendly. So I'd say we're a little bit more intentional about meeting people on the road in terms of we've joined a couple of different traveling communities. They're just membership groups that you can join to meet up with other people that are kind of like-minded. So one of those is Escapees, which is for retirees and older. And then they have another group called Escapers, which is working aged people on the road. And so we meet up with Escapers, and like they have Escaper meetups across the country. And then Ray, who is the more sociable one of both of us, can talk about Instagram and how that's really how we reach out to people and meet up directly with people, and have met with a lot of our current friends on the road.
Now, let's get back to the kinds of people that you're meeting. I think it's a curiosity. I mean, there's been this major successful movie called Nomad, and most of the people there had issues in their life. They were escaping something, just like Ray just gave us two websites to go to, two communities, Escaper, right? And Escapee. So that's a big thing. Are they escaping something? Or are they going towards something? Are you finding that these are fringy people or brave people? And I don't know that you have to be only one or the other. But if you could give one or two words on how you would connect this group, what would you call them? What adjective would you use?
I guess if I can only use one or two words, diverse comes to mind.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, we will talk more about that when we come back, as well as going through some of the beautiful travel possibilities. I do love the national parks, and I think we can't leave this without giving people some ideas for their bucket list. One of the things that you've told me over and over again is that your biggest barrier to travel is money. What else is new? Well, we have now affiliated and partnered with all the booking sites that you would be interested in. That's booking.com, that's hotels.com, that's Expedia, that's Guides, Get Your Guide, and of course TripAdvisor, the big one. So if you are going to be booking, you're going to want to use the links that we provide for you because there are discounts there. There's also ease and convenience. It also does something for all of us. It is true, yes, I get a small donation in the event that you book through any of these sites, but I plow it right back in so that we can have more research, more clout in the world of anti-ageism and tourism, and get you even more discounts. So please use these because it'll be good for you and it'll be good for your family. And it really puts a lot more money in your pocket and makes life easy. How do you do that? Well, you simply go to our discount page on agelesstraveler.com/discounts. You'll see that also in the show notes. So use it and never stop traveling. We have with us today the Getaway Couple, Ray and Jason Miller. This RVing life is really symbolic. It's symbolic of you doing what you want and not putting it aside at any age. Whether you're working, whether you're post-retirees, you can do this. That's really the message here. But for those of you who just want to put a toe in the water, you want to take a couple of weeks vacation, let's throw this to Jason for the minute. Would you just suggest people rent? Where would they go to rent? And also, what was your favorite place that you would say was perfectly excellent for an RV vacation? Your number one pick, let's say.
Yeah. So I think now it's easier than ever to rent, which if you're just starting out, I think is the best way. They have the traditional RV rental companies like Cruise America, and then there's a bunch of other smaller regional ones out there. Or now, in the past couple of years, the whole RV sharing thing has really come up. So they have a couple RV sharing companies that are kind of like Airbnb or Uber, where the person will either deliver an RV to a campsite for you, or you get to just rent their RV. And I think a couple big ones are Outdoorsy and RV Share. And so I think those are the best ways, especially if you want to buy one in the future, you could rent the exact same model that you're interested in.
Driving, really. It's just test driving that sure. And where would you go if you had your two, for the retiree, the world is their oyster, really, if they're not working. And for those that work remotely like myself, also the same. But for those who have the usual US 2-week vacation, what really knocked you? Yeah.
That's
many
a
places.
hard question. Yeah.
But I know you do a lot of writing about the national parks.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, it all depends on where you're starting from, but if you had to choose one, I would say the Utah National Parks. They're relatively close. They're very diverse. And I think no matter where you are in the country, whether from the West Coast or East Coast or South or Northwest, anywhere, the Utah National Park landscape is absolutely stunning, from Zion National Park and then going up into the mountains, up into Bryce Canyon National Park. It's just absolutely beautiful.
So we didn't rehearse this, but I have said this for years. First of all, I have my second place in Utah. People are shocked, but I come from the East Coast. It's only a little over 4 hours to get there by plane. Of course, now I'm on the West Coast. We drove. We spent every single, for the last 10 years or so, Thanksgiving up there. And the Archers, Moab, Bryce, as you mentioned, Zion. I really do believe that Utah is the most beautiful state in the U.S. I have no ties to it except for its own beauty. But everybody's different. So let's find out what Ray has to say about this. If you are talking about vacationers, not people living the RV lifestyle.
Yes. Well, Utah is obviously high up there for me as well. But to add a little, diversification here, depending on where you are, Michigan is also one of our favorite states. And we try and loop through there once a year in the summer. It's just, there's so many small towns. We like to go to the Upper Peninsula as well. And the National Seashore that's up there is just gorgeous. And you're surrounded by, 3 different Great Lakes. And if you like craft brewery like we do, there are some of the best breweries that we have been to are in Michigan. So I almost don't even want to say it. We love Michigan so much. We don't want to see it overcrowded, but it is one of our favorite states.
So again, on a relationship point of view, my mom was from Ann Arbor, and my daughter-in-law is from Bloomfield, Michigan. And I talk a lot about real estate. I just sold something in Lansing and we rebought. That's another show. So and what people say, you have a funny accent. Well, it's half Brooklyn and it's half Michigan. So there you go. But it is a beautiful state. And I must say the Upper Peninsula is a great place to visit at any age because the resorts there are top notch. They're world class too. So how long do you stay in a place, Ray? On average, how long do you stay in one site?
I would say the first couple of years on the road, we averaged about a week in one place. And that's just how we planned our trips. Now we slow it down a bit. We try and stay 2 weeks, sometimes even longer if we feel like it, just because the burnout is real. So when you're moving once a week, that's a lot of moving days, a lot of driving days, a lot of miles. So that's about our average now, is about two weeks.
So I want to throw this over now to Jason because it relates. How do you organize your day? I mean, you are working, you are traveling. 2 weeks isn't too bad. At least you're not going every single day. But have you found, and you said that you're introverted, you like, your comfort's there and you like to be quiet. Have you organized your day in a completely different way? Do you really find yourself with more free time, which is one of the parts of the dream? You tell us what is planned out with regard to that in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've been fully self-employed for the last 2 years. And so we haven't really got to fully delve into the freedom of self-employment just due to the state of the last 2 years. But
yes,
other than that, we definitely have a lot more free time, but it's, we're self-employed. So we're also working a whole lot more. So it's always easier to keep working, but we really do plan we know that there's places that we want to see, and we try to schedule seeing those first. So it's kind of like we try to get to those, and now we can do it midweek when they're less crowded. Maybe you can get better deals on admission tickets or anything midweek. And so it does take a lot of work, and I would say that's one of the downsides of full-time RV or even just full-time travel in general, is there is a lot of decisions to make on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, a lot of planning.
When you're free to go and anywhere and do anything, it kind of bogs you down a little bit when you're not as restricted.
By the way, you've hit the biggest nerve of retirement. When you do have some money, at least enough money for your own lifestyle, and there is nothing impinging on you, you don't have to do anything, it actually can be extremely anxiety producing. It sounds great when you're fettered to an office stool, but that freedom can be a difficult thing. And I am pretty sure that the groups that you're talking about deal with that, and the psychology of having that freedom and having to create the boundaries for yourself day after day. Interesting stuff. I don't want to end on a bad note, so I don't want to discuss COVID, but I have to congratulate you for doing this during these last 2 years, as you just said, Jason. I did travel and will travel, but the precautions that have to be taken, the decisions that have to be made are really of a different order, and I hope we all are free of that. So speaking of free, let us finish this way. And I'm going to finish with Ray, but I want to just say something that Jason had said. I asked Jason what is the most important thing he wanted to get out to you guys. And he became sort of like a Nike ad. Just do it, is what he said. Make it happen. And that was succinct, but I'll throw it to you, Ray, to go a bit more into that philosophy so that people will do it. Tell us, Ray, what you said to me when I asked, what's the one thing that you'd like them to take away?
Yes, Jason does a fantastic job of just putting it in that let's just go.
It was brilliant.
But the logic behind that is more so the worst case scenario is, if you're thinking about this type of lifestyle, is that if you went out and did it, the worst thing that could happen if it didn't work out is you just come back to how you're living now. And that's what really got us going. That's what really got us pumped to at least try it for a year, was, okay, worst case scenario, and we go back to living how we've been living.
And I'm going to throw it over to Jason because I love your words. Just go. Let's hear it, Jason. Just go.
Just go.
Yes, just go. But before you go, don't forget to tune in to all of our episodes and subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you can hear podcasts. And of course, subscribe to our newsletter. Travel Tuesday comes to you every single week. Guess when? On Tuesday. How do you do that? Or join our Facebook salon? Very simple. You go to agelesstraveler.com. You'll see it in the show notes. That's agelesstraveler.com, and never stop traveling.